Julian might not no longer be part of Rory Mal. Let's see, and let's go.
Rory and Mal fired Julian from their podcast? Yeah, it seems to be that's what happened, with a series of tweets by Julian indicating that he's no longer a part of the Rory and Mal show. And I'm pretty sure that is the case. As this all started with Julian tweeting, "It's been great. You'll hear from me soon." Many fans speculated that this was in regards to his future on the Rory and Mal podcast. But, of course, there was the threat of this being just another rollout, similar to what Mandy and Weezy did with Horrible Decisions. However,
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was actually genius how they did that. Yeah, shout out to Decisions.
Of this being just another rollout, similar to what Mandy and Weezy did with Horrible Decisions. However, I think it's pretty clear that actually this is the real thing, as he is not on the most recent episode. He is also not in the most recent show description, but he was on the previous episode's show description. Julian's time on the Rory and Mal podcast is mired in controversy. Remember, when he first arrived, he was at odds with Damaris over his introduction into the show, as highlighted in my interview with Julian here.
Damaris and I, and it's honestly crazy. We recently hashed this out, more so I think following the events that happened with us on our side. Damaris and I really had that time to because to be frank, the transition, it wasn't handled. It was mismanaged entirely. There was no conversation between Damaris and I. There was no, sit down or change of power or here's the new structure, here how it's gonna. It was just here's Julian, he's in your chair now. So that's it.
Change of something?
Well, they said it to themselves, but there was never, if someone's joining a company, you should probably introduce them and explain to everyone what their role is, and even more so if someone's retroactively taking someone else's spot, you should probably communicate to the person who is not losing their job, but their job's being altered.
Basically him and
Wow, when was this interview? That's interesting. That's very transparent. I think the best thing that ever happened to Rory and Mal podcast was Julian and Damaris. Not to say that Rory and Mal are not good, but it just, I don't know, it's missing that, just missing that spice. It's just missing a little bit of that spice, a little bit more of that, I don't know. So, interesting. I didn't even know they fell out. A lot of people speculate online that they together, so I think they play into it and troll people, but interesting that they weren't rocking with each other. The more you know, it's just a workplace, so, that makes sense.
And Damaris had kind of similar roles, and it was unclear who was doing what, but it was very clear that Julian was managing Damaris, which led to tension. Then there was the obvious controversial fight situation with Eden.
Eden! God dang. I know it was so close. I'm like, not Ian. Eden. Now, I liked him. I thought he was cool, too. Damn, that's crazy. I forgot about that.
Then shockingly assaulted Julian at a post-work get-together. And I spoke with Julian about this in my interview as well.
How do you feel that situation with Eden was handled?
I think the guys, ultimately it's their show. It's their decision to make. So I think that they, made the decision they needed to make. When we say we don't have an HR, we really don't.
Okay.
That's not a joke. And I know Rory spent most of that break communicating with friends and people that he knows that work more in the HR environment, and he was kind of consulting with them. So
now it always looked like,
and that's got to be a difficult thing. You don't want to, because you build a relationship, you build a rapport with people. So that had to be tough when all that went down between Julian and Eden. God dang, what's wrong with me? Eden. That had to be tough. What do I do in this situation? Do I let both of them go? Do I let both of them stay? Do we address it on the pod, or what do we do? So, yeah, fight though. And it depends what the reason for the fight was and everything. So, yeah, that's tough.
Julian got the short end of the stick when it came to the Rory and Mal pod. And it's wild that he would exit, considering that he was by far, to me, the most valuable member of the show, obviously outside of Rory and Mal, considering all of the moments he had on the podcast. Of course, there was that famous Young Thug moment.
Something wrong with the pussy.
From Lifestyle. Remember Thug?
Something wrong with the what? And also that story he shared about the girl and the book bag.
30,
that was crazy.
I'm going downstairs to my apartment. It's pitch black. It's also raining. In my peripheral, I see them. And I see her holding hands with someone. And they're walking to my apartment door. The light from my apartment illuminates both of them. I see it's not a woman. It's in fact a man. I lent her a backpack for the day. He's wearing my backpack.
That was crazy. I'll never forget. Mal, anytime something happens embarrassing to his friends, he is so quick to laugh. I don't know what I don't know. But anyway, that is go watch that pod, whatever episode that was. You can find a Julian story about, that story was wild, bro. Damn.
All very classic moments.
Yeah.
But on top of that, he seemed to have actual acumen when it came to content creation, also social media, promoting the show. So it's odd that he would be the first one gone after the initial exit of Eden. And he was often the most vulnerable, never being afraid to tell stories about himself that made him look absolutely crazy. Unlike Mal and sometimes Rory. Like Mal, he's one of those podcasters that never really says a story where he looks insane. The only time he looks insane is when he's stubborn and doesn't know that he looks insane, but he'll never willingly be vulnerable. And Rory, he does a decent job of being vulnerable, but not to the extent that Julian was. As for...
I don't know if I can agree with that. I think Rory is the most transparent about his insecurities and how... And his feelings and emotions, and I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that analysis. But Julian is pretty vulnerable and transparent though. So
what may have happened with Rory and Mal getting rid of Julian? It could be that the show was cutting costs, as there were signs that the budget was tightening, especially with members of the show not flying out on tour dates. And who knows if their recent deal with Studio 71 is on par with their previous deal with Sirius. I just assume that, Sirius has probably a better payout structure, because I think the deals that they have signed is only for audio.
We signed a licensing deal with Sirius. We were never signed to Sirius the way people think we were. It was a licensing deal, same way the Studio 71 deal was a licensing deal.
Okay.
And that's what it is. Yeah, we met with everyone. Studio 71 made the most sense for what we were trying to do, and how I like licensing deals. They made the most sense.
Rory and Mal basically go to so-and-so like Sirius or Studio 71, and they give them access to place ads against their audio only. But they manage their YouTube and their Patreon, and I think that kind of gives a sense of how the money is maybe not as expansive as we think, right? They have to pay for their rent. They have to pay everybody on the show. And it's perfectly feasible that Rory and Mal just made a cost-cutting decision. It's the end of the year. Maybe Julian was also expecting some type of raise or some type of, adjustment.
To lose your job right after Christmas and start in the new year, that's crazy work. That's crazy work. To lose your job around Christmas is crazy work. So, again, but it's all speculation. He could be on the pod the very next episode. So, who knows? We're going to see, though. We're going to see.
That he felt was proper for the work he was putting in, that Rory and Mal might have felt he did not deserve. Another possible situation is that Julian decided to walk away, given his background in music, working at labels, specifically Dreamville, and also his modeling career. Though I don't think that's the case, as it always appeared to me like Julian loved working for the Rory and Mal show. But let me know what you think. It's kind of crazy that when Rory and Mal exited the Joe Budden podcast, it seemed tumultuous. But if you look at their show, they've lost a lot of people. First, there was Carl, who lost a bunch of cameras. on the show. Like, he was taking a flight and he just said, "Oh man, I lost mad cameras." I mean, they said it was almost like $15,000 to $30,000 worth of cameras.
What?
Then there was Eden. Remember Eden? He decided to weirdly punch Julian, and he was kicked from the show for being a violent man who couldn't control his rage. And now,
Still, do we know the backstory behind why they fought? Comment below if you know the backstory. I never looked into it, but yeah.
Julian enters the fray. I think a lot of people are going to be in my comment section talking about, Danny, they got you, they got you. I don't think this is a gotcha moment, as Rory and Mal, they don't really do this type of, COE, firing somebody just to pretend and get more views and clicks. They don't really do that. That's more what Joe does. That's more what Mandy and Weezy do. That's more what other podcasts do. Julian's gone, and he's not coming back. And the Rory and Mal era without Julian producing the show has begun. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think this is a severe hit? I believe it is. But, I mean, everybody's there for Rory and Mal, so it's likely that the show will still maintain its listenership. But who knows? Who knows? With that said, follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.
So, to answer the question, is it a huge hit? I don't think it's a huge hit because you're not like you're losing Rory or Mal. So I don't think it's a huge hit, but it's somewhat of a hit. Again, we don't know if he's gone or if he is on vacation. He's going through a personal matter. We don't know. To address, I do. As much as I want the content, I want to know. I want to be nosy. I'd much rather them just kind of just not address it. Kind of maybe talk about it, but then let it go. Than to do a Joe Budden and just be all performative and do everything in your power to embarrass the people that may help make you a lot of money and you consider friends. Like, I never liked how Joe Budden treated Rory and Mal. Like, he treated them like literally like little niggas, and like he didn't have no type of appreciation for them at all. So that's why I always look at Joe Budden with a side eye. Like, you're gonna treat Rory and Mal like that, no matter what the disagreement is. Like, how do you treat everybody else? But anyway, so yeah, I think all of them play an important role. So if it is Julian's no longer there, it is disappointing. But I guess that's the way. That's the life of a podcast. You're gonna lose people. You're gonna gain people, I guess. But let me know how you feel. Like, comment, subscribe, share all the things of things. Hip hop, hold it down. Hold it down. So what we do. Me.
Thank you.